Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Dad Like Book. Today, taking a look at one of the most well read and celebrated sci fis ever, War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. Um, I'd be surprised if you clicked on this video and don't know at least a little bit about this book and the history of it. But published in 1898. This book, a lot of people really kind of refer to as like one of the more foundational works of what would become science fiction as we know it today. Um, and I think in a lot of the reviews that I've watched and, um, you know, the thoughts I've heard from other people about this book, uh, people talk about it in a way that is very much like it's timeless and it's very ahead of its time as far as when it was written. Um, and I think it's a powerful piece of literature because not only when it was written and what it talks about at that time, but just um, how it still stands up today, right alongside any other great science fiction work. And so this was number 7, I believe, on the 25 book challenge that I did. Uh, I I took a good look at like some of those lists that you can find online of like some of the foundational works of science fiction. You know, 25 must reads if you're a science fiction fan or you're entering. You're trying to read more science fiction. What should you read? And this is on like every list you're going to look up. Every single time you're going to try to find um, uh, you know where to start with as far as where to dive into science fiction. I wouldn't necessarily say this should be your first book, but I do think that any science fiction reader should try this at some point and you know do your best to get through it. If you don't enjoy it for any reason, I wouldn't DNF a book like this because the ending is very satisfying and I really enjoyed the last few chapters of it. Um, this is my watermill classic that I actually really like, that I read. I got this big old treasury of H.G. Wells for a couple bucks after reading this, and it has some more Wells that I plan on reading at some point in there. But yeah, let's get into the book. It it follows a unnamed narrator through, and it's set in London in like the, I don't know, the late, would that be 18th century, late 1800s, um, where we, or that would that be 19th century? It's the end of the it's right, it's set right around when it was written, the late 1800s. Automobiles are not quite, common. People are still taking horses and that kind of thing. And so technology, as we know it, is not, it's a totally different thing. So picture yourself in a much less technologically advanced society. You know, people are walking places, they're taking horses, medicine's different, weapons are different, that kind of thing. And so you follow this unnamed narrator as he, and some other scientists and people in this town. I think it's called Woking, outside of London, little like village town. Um, discover this object that's fallen from the sky, this cylinder, um, and it opens. Aliens emerge, and the cover. It's not a bunch of flying saucers destroying with laser beams, but the way that the aliens are described, even from the jump, when you see the first one kind of crawl out of this cylinder, there, it's so interesting to me how in before the turn of the century, Wells was writing with such um, a knowledge of what, like he just established what aliens would be 50, 60 years past, and still like this, his descriptions of aliens are so intriguing and visceral and interesting. And I think that he just developed such a really a great um, you know, antagonist, if you will. That the it's not a singular person, but the villains of this story are these aliens from Mars. And they emerge from these little pods and whatnot, and slowly there begins to be this invasion of Earth. And again, the technology is not like it is now. So like the news is not traveling as fast as it might now, where you're getting video footage from London, where these aliens are landing, and then here in America we're getting real time updates on what's going on. That's not happening. So if you can imagine a full scale invasion and how that might play out in a pre cell phone era, a pre like video camera era, that kind of thing. Um, it's interesting to watch how Wells writes the society and how they're the culture and the way that they are slow to react to this type of thing. They really find themselves on the back foot. Humanity does in this war that ends up happening, where more and more aliens are landing, and we follow this narrator as he journeys through the war. He's not picking up a machine gun shooting aliens. I don't want you to get the idea, if you haven't read this book, that it's some run and gun sci-fi like Aliens or something. Aliens is in the movie. It's not like that. We're dealing with an ordinary man who just wants to get back to his wife. He gets separated from her. He encounters some other humans, an artilleryman, a curate, and that scene specifically, that whole section about him and this curate that he encounters, I thought that was probably my favorite section of the book. Where, in spoilers, don't stop if you don't want to hear specific details. Um, he meets this curate who just kind of goes off the deep end, and he and this man are like hiding from nearby aliens. The tension that Wells created in this entire scene was so um you could hear a pin drop. I feel like he created the real eerie atmosphere that the narrator ends up experiencing. And then we see the curate like kind of go off the rails. He ends up dying, and his body gets dragged out, and the main character, our narrator, hides in the cellar for a few days. He like I like, as I'm kind of like thinking back into the events of the book and the way that it plays out, it feels so um real as far as like what would actually happen. It feels very, very realistic. And I watched several reviews of others' thoughts on this at the time of reading, right after I finished it. I wanted to know what other people thought about this book, because I remember, I don't think I read it in high school, but it was one of those kind of books that a lot of people had to read, required reading in high school. And uh, many people talked about, at least recent reviews, semi recent reviews, talked about the cultural relevance after COVID. And I talked about this in my review of Blood Music, where having come off of a pandemic where the world just kind of has to um, react to this unknown um, terror and panic and uh, just unprecedented events begin happening, you like I said, you find humanity on the back foot, having to react rather than preemptively plan. And I think now, even having worked out some of these exercises through literature and through real world events, I still think you can never be prepared for some of the things that could occur on a global scale like this. And so it's just, I think Wells imagined that and wrote it in such a realistic way that it cuts right through the pulpiness that you might think this comes from, because a lot of the early 19th 1900s science fiction, pulp magazines that were coming out were, it was like if you took this and you distilled it down to its bare bones and then gave it a real space alien-y swashbuckly vibe. And I haven't read like pulps, but I'm just, that was the genre at the time. And that's what I find so fascinating about this, is this came before decades of those pulps being made. And Wells, he just was so ahead of his time. Um, I plan on reading more of his work because I think he speaks with um, an edge to him that doesn't come out of the 1800s all that often, or early 1900s, where he just sounds like like you could tell him about what happened during COVID and he'd be like, yeah, I imagined it here. Um, the reactions of humans and the way that they deal with conflict. And I think not only that, but at the very end of the book, when he reunites with his wife, that was a real special thing. I thought that was really neat ending to the book. It ends on a high note. Because I remember, if I remember right, we think she's gone. He gets scared because he had like heard news that where she had gone during the attacks, uh, like got destroyed or something. And anyway, we're led to believe, I think, at the end that she had passed away, and she didn't, and he's reunited with her at the end. Um, I think. I It's been a while since I've read this one, but I do remember this sticking with me. And I actually, one of my friends, we went to a bookshop up north, and she found a copy of it and picked it up. And I was like, she read it and said she really liked it. And so it was fun to recommend a book like this that I think the average reader might not want to experience. Having just the general vibe that it gives off, you might have your preconceived notions about it, but I just think that it's well written. It stands toe to toe with any other great work of literature, much less science fiction. Where I just I have a lot of admiration for Wells, and I think he is among the best writers in science fiction history, and maybe in history in general. But I don't have a ton more to say about it. I know this isn't some groundbreaking review. My thoughts aren't much different from most people's. It's a great book, and it has timeless themes, and is very well written. So let me know down in the comments what other Wells you've read and what other Wells I should give a try to, because this has lots of stuff in it that I could try. The Time Machine, The Island of Dr. Moreau, The Invisible Man, First Men on the Moon, Food of the Gods, In the Days of the Comet, and War of the Worlds is also in here. So I have plenty that I can start reading from Mr. Wells. But yeah, let me know down in the comments. Thank you for watching this review. This is, like I think I said, maybe I didn't mention it. This would have been number 7 out of my 25 book reviews, 25 book challenge. So we're slowly chipping away at it. Some really cool ones to come, including, let's see, what did I read? There's a Stanislaw Lem. There's a Le Guin that I'll review. There's an Asimov. There is a Ray Bradbury, a Philip K. Dick. You can look in the description below to see the full list if you want, of all the books that I will be reviewing in the months to come. And I'm reading. I'm still reading, so I'll be doing intermittent reviews of books that I have recently finished as I go. But that's the plan for the next month or two, three of this YouTube channel. Let me know what other kind of videos you want to see. I've been doing book hauls; those have been fun. Reviews, giving my thoughts about books, and if there's anything else you'd like to see, let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, continually engaging with me. It's a lot of fun to make these videos and then talk with you guys afterwards. So anyway, I have been your boy, Dad Like Book. That felt very cheesy to say, but yeah. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Oh, my leg's asleep. Oh my gosh. Goodness gracious. Gotta stop the video. All right, see you guys.